Hello and welcome back to the DVD Bunker. I'm Brian. This is Matt.
How's it going, Brian?
You know, it's pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. Life is sweet.
We made it 5 episodes.
That's right. I mean, I'm really starting to feel like we're hitting our stride.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Little behind the scenes tidbit. We took a week off.
Yeah.
So we've been missing each other.
So we get a little handsy.
That's right. If it gets a little romantic, you'll know why. If you feel some tension through your computer screen, you'll know where it came from.
It's real.
Special shout out to my beautiful wife, Sarah, for the lovely Father's Day gift of a notebook
That is
for what she described as my little show. Oh, here, you can keep notes for your little show.
She's optimistic.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
Minuscule is.
It is small. It certainly is small. Only in viewership, my dear.
The effects are out of control.
That's right. That's right. So, if you've never watched the show before, what we do is we look through my personal DVD collection and we try to find some things that I don't remember too well or things that I really like that it seems like nobody else remembers and kind of rewatch them and reassess them and see how they hold up to my scrutiny of my current movie tastes, my much more refined. And I feel like that's exactly the reason that this movie made it to the show.
Yeah.
Because this is a movie I remember seeing a couple times, like around the time it came out, probably around the time I bought it, you know, hit it real hard. You go through a cycle with a new movie where, like, all your friends come by, and if you're like, hey, have you seen this? Or, you know, so you watch it like 3 or 4 times within a couple months, and then you're done with it, and it just sits on the shelf for the next decade. Now, this was a more of an impromptu episode, so I don't remember quite what year this came out, but early 2000s, I want to say.
You're probably right, 05.
Yeah, something like that. And so this would have been when I was like newly married and just like working a job and just hanging out with no real responsibilities, you know, so probably everybody who came over, we probably drank beers and watched this movie and we're like, oh, I'm blown away by the... So, yeah, you know, in more recent years I've watched, you know, I've gotten more into like film criticism and analysis. Not that I am better at it, but it's like I watch people who are smarter than me, and there's movies that I own that I think I really like that I hear these smarter people talking about, and it's like, oh, remember Identity? Blah. So I was like, oh, Identity's not, you know, you're like dying a little inside. Like the first time I ever heard somebody say Independence Day wasn't good, and I was like, oh, what? Like my whole world changed, you know what I mean? But yeah, so this is a movie I really wanted to go back and look at. I remember it as a cool kind of thriller, you know, twisty plot, and a really good cast. I mean, John Cusack, Ray Liotta, Amanda Peet are kind of the main leads.
There's a lot of people in this
But I remember, like, almost every role is filled with a really good character actor, so we won't even spoil them now, because we're going to have character corner later.
Yeah, we'll talk about
we're going to talk about everybody.
Do it too for honorable mention, maybe.
Honorable mention, the whole cast.
The whole rest of the cast.
The whole rest of the cast. So, do you have any kind of memory of this movie at all?
I remember the town that they're in, and this building that they're in is very weird, and you get a weird feeling from it. And I remember the people are kind of crazy, and I want to guess how many of them there are. I want to say there's 7.
7.
Little
Agatha Christie.
Yeah, that's kind of all I remember. I remember it was twisty-turny at the end, so you're kind of like, oh, but I might remember the twist, and I don't know if that's going to hurt the movie for me.
Sometimes I really enjoy going, like, I think that's the definition of a good twist. If you know the twist and you can go back and enjoy the movie and like pick up new things from it and kind of rewatch it and get something out of it, then the twist is good. If you like get the twist and you're like, oh, and then that's it and you never go back to it, or like this happens to me, if I figure out the twist, then I'm like lazy, you couldn't even trick me, I'm just a dude in my basement. Like, come on.
I drank before I came to this movie theater.
You know, I'm sitting here next to a mom and her kids and I'm using both cup holders for 2 giant beers. I'm by myself, she knows there's nobody with me. She's got the only seat next to me, you know. But no, you can't even fool me. Ridiculous. Come on, Hollywood. What did you get paid? Come on. But no, I do. I think that like if you can watch a movie after you know the twist and still enjoy it, still get something out of it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You know, we'll see.
Said that because I'm gonna watch this.
Gonna try it
thinking that I know the twist. It would be perfect if I was wrong.
Right. If you had no idea. Oh, double twist. Yeah. Double twist.
Oh, that could be great.
Yeah, I like the sound of this already. Yeah. So are we ready to get started? Anything else we need to say?
No, I say let's watch Identity, man.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so we're back from watching Identity. So it starts with a doctor interviewing a patient. We never see the patient.
Yep.
Alfred Molina is the doctor. If you don't know who Alfred Molina is,
Yep.
He's in Spider-Man 2. He was Dr. Octopus. He's in Boogie Nights.
Yeah, I remember that.
He has varying weights, and he shows up in things, and sometimes you don't know it's him.
Oliver
he just
Platt
has
kinda
big
guy,
swings. He's an Oliver. He's like an Oliver Platt. Big swings in his weight. Vincent D'Onofrio's another one. But
keeping it real.
But he's one of many great casting choices. I think that's going to be one of the big things we talk about here is how great the cast is.
Oh yeah.
You get kind of the intro. It's very
it's very Death Race 2000 because it's just people getting run over by cars. That's how we get introduced to everybody.
This whole movie does have a few rundowns. Yeah, I agree with that. So we have the doctor interviewing this patient, and then there's a call to a judge in the middle of the night. They need to transport this patient for an emergency hearing.
Yeah.
And so that kind of starts off the premise a little bit for the beginning.
Yeah, that's just stay this guy's execution.
And then we cut to a hotel in the rain, which we talk a little bit about here. The rain is very Seven, very much
raining a shit ton.
City that just never stops raining. They do use it though. There's a flood that kind of traps all these characters in the motel, so it does have a purpose. I'll applaud them. I'll give them that. Obviously, it's an aesthetic choice to make it seem very dramatic, but they found a bullshit thing to put around it.
Yeah, it works.
Much like the moat around the hotel. They lined their bullshit.
I think this movie is singularly responsible for the drought in California. The amount of water that had to have been sprayed on people. Everybody is wet in every single scene.
And what is clearly the desert. Like this motel's sitting in the middle of the desert and it's pouring rain on them constantly.
They're always wet the whole time. Everyone's wet. It's great.
So you cut to rainy motel, and second great character actor bursts in. John C. McGinley carrying his hurt wife.
Yeah.
She won't stop bleeding. He's freaking out.
Yeah.
Flashback to them on the road changing a tire, right? They're changing a wet tire. What popped their tire? A shoe. Another flashback now. So now we're flashback within a flashback to
lady driver
Amanda Peet driving a convertible with a cigarette. She thinks she needs a lighter to light her cigarette. She thinks third flashback. So now we're 3 flashbacks deep.
This is 5 minutes into
and this
the movie.
is literally 5 minutes into the movie. This is like you've now introduced John C. McGinley, and he has a wife and kid, and Amanda Peet, all within 5 minutes, but all in these this super convoluted triple flashback.
But Inception made us wait like an hour and a half before we got to Dream Level 3.
Yeah, Dream Level 3. This one goes right to it. She is, so you see that the shoe, she gets the lighter from one of her tricks, so that's how you learn that she's a prostitute. She steals a lighter from a trick. When she reaches back to cut back in from the last flashback, now we're rolling back forward.
Yeah.
And she's in the car and she opens her suitcase and the shoe flies out. Flash forward again, the shoe is in his hand. That's what popped my tire. So while he's changing the tire, his wife gets hit by a truck.
Yep.
She's having a little moment with her son at the window, and she gets hit. It's pretty gruesome. It's one of those early 2000s. They did a lot of the Final Destination bus smash like this out of nowhere. I think one of the funniest ones I ever saw. This is a terrible movie, but the Guy Pearce Time Machine remake.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yep.
So he comes,
horses?
Yeah, he comes back and he the whole thing is to save his girlfriend from dying, and he does it, and they're having this great moment, and then she walks across the street to buy flowers and and gets plowed by a horse and buggy. But it's like that comical out of frame smash cut where she just gets
when they turn and look back for a second, they hold their hand and they just get smashed.
You got Guy Pearce in the forefront and it's in the background. He's like, Brah! And by a horse and buggy though, not by But anyway, so she gets comically smashed out of the frame right in front of her child. So that's adorable.
Yeah, that was fun for me.
So then we cut finally back from our flashbacks into the present, and actually, I'm sorry, we missed something. The guy who hits her, there's actually another flashback in this scene too. I think they come back for a second, but then they flash to John Cusack, who's a limo driver with the starlet, who's Rebecca De Mornay. they're arguing about something. She's bitching at him, and they're the ones who hit the wife.
Yeah, they're the ones that blast the lady.
So he comes in right behind her. Like, John Cusack is obviously trying to help. He feels bad. Rebecca De Mornay's being a twat.
Yeah,
She's
horrible,
just like, won't help anybody. She's very privileged. So anyway, they get the body in, and they get some rooms. And John Cusack tries to go out and find help, but there's a flood. He can't find help, but he does find Amanda Peet. So he picks up Amanda Peet. Her car broke down. And he meets up with a young couple.
They're kind of jerks. They're not really that helpful either. But
Clea Duvall, who has played the weird-looking girl in every movie you've ever seen, Girl Interrupted,
some television too.
And some television. She's in Zodiac, I think. And her
Lovely
boyfriend.
lady.
So everybody's now at the hotel. And we're all trapped because there's a flood and the road's washed out. You can't get out of the hotel. You know, the wife is bleeding out.
Yeah, she's hurting pretty badly.
But John Cusack is clearly, like, taking more charge than a limo driver usually does, right? He's kind of, he's a little gung-ho.
Yeah, he's invested, though, because he did blast a lady with his car. So I feel like he's really going to bust his ass.
He feels bad. Yeah. He feels bad. So, they get everybody, let's see here. They get everybody out to their rooms. Then we got one more arrival because we've heard that there's this emergency hearing for a prisoner.
Yep.
And now we have a cop show up, and he's got a prisoner with him.
And I like that because with a movie this many twists and turns, that's a really good red herring of the movie. You know what I mean? When they see, you're like, oh, here's my prisoner.
Okay,
Jake
so
Busey.
Now everybody. So now we think we're pretty sure that all our stories have now tied up, and everybody's at the hotel. All our characters are there
with this horrible killer.
Right, and there's a killer. So they get him chained up in the room, and Ray Liotta is the lawman.
Yeah.
And the radio in his car's busted. John Cusack's all over him to try to get somebody on the radio. He can't get anybody on the radio. And that's like an ongoing thing.
No cell phones, no radios, no contact with the outside. Pretty quick, they're like, you're done.
But like right from the beginning, just like John Cusack isn't acting like a limo driver, Ray Liotta's not really acting like the cop. He's weird already. He's very weird.
Pushy.
And then they have that whole thing where he you see him stand up and he turns around and he's got a hole in the back of his shirt with a bunch of blood around it, and he just puts his coat on over it. That can't be good, right? That's not a good situation.
Yeah, that was like Sixth Sense or something where you're like, wait, did that guy get shot? What happened?
So
that's good. That's good though.
So everybody's there, and then we start to get our first kind of Rebecca De Mornay. I forget what it is. She stumbles out into the rain for some reason or another, and basically she's our first murder.
Yeah, murder.
And they find her head in a dryer, which is pretty great. Anytime you have just a head bouncing around in a dryer, good stuff there, right?
Yeah. She was mouthy too, so you could tell.
Oh yeah, well she was real. Remember she had the thing where she tried to bribe the motel guy, and she tries to slip him $50, but she's got like a huge wad of money that you can clearly see right there. And he's just, at least if you're gonna bribe me, hide your other money a little better, right?
Don't be only waving a flag.
Yeah. I get it. I'm just the stupid hotel guy. $50 will do it for me. Hotel guy I love too. Hates prostitutes. Instantly picks Amanda Peet as a prostitute. She's trying to get a room, and he's just like, I don't rent by the hour, and just instantly calling her out. So he's just like a prick.
Do you think though that is sort of supposed to be an indicator that he's not the hotel guy? Because we learned that he's not. Because any hotel guy or a motel runner in a place like this would appreciate prostitute business because it would be a bulk of they would love prostitutes.
They quick turnaround. You make money quick, and they're out of there. You can actually book the room multiple times a day.
Yeah,
and that's a good call. He's not acting very much like an actual motel owner. What you do is you give her a jacked up hourly rate.
Exactly.
Man,
when you see a prostitute, we live in the right part of the country. I don't think it's really difficult.
Well, then they find the mom. She died. They find her. Ray Liotta goes in to find her, and she's dead. But she's got a key by her.
Yep, she's another key. We found.
Well, that's the thing. John Cusack starts to freak out because there's been keys on the murdered bodies counting down, but now there's one on what's a woman who we think died from an accident. She got hit by a car. Yeah. So he's like, why does she have a key on her? What's going on? And so they go to check John C. McGinley's body because he was also an accident and key in the pocket. So now we have
And these ain't Oprah's keys.
What? So now another great movie cliche, Amanda Peet gets to have her, what are you waiting for? What's going on? Moment where, because there's a killer out there that she knows, and she's freaking out. She's just yelling. She's doing her Jennifer Love Hewitt impression all out in the rain.
If you look back, you can actually see that the other actors that are in that scene with her are also just like...
They're just embarrassed.
Like they stand there with their eyes kind of rolling.
This isn't good. The girl in Maximum Overdrive did it a lot better, We made you! That's what she should have said. That would have been much better.
That would have been the best.
I love it.
And then I think in here we find out everybody has the same birthday.
Right, they're trying to figure out the connections, and all of a sudden it's like they figure out everybody has the same birthday, and John Cusack starts to piece together that everybody's name is like a location.
Yep.
Some, one last name Washington, last name York. Everything is based on a place on the map. And then he starts reciting this poem, and this is where we get our first big twist.
Yep, first big twist.
Cusack is like transported into the room with the lawyers and stuff. All of a sudden he was standing in the motel, and boom, now he's in the room with Alfred Molina and the lawyers.
Cusack is the prisoner.
Cusack's the prisoner.
Yeah.
And he's talking to Alfred Molina, and he knows Alfred Molina. It's his doctor. He's like, "Oh, Doc, I know you. You missed our appointment." And they're chatting. And
he's lucid. He's lucid. And they talk to him, and then they tell him all about this killer that does all these horrible things. Yeah. And he's just like, I don't know this guy. Why are you telling me this? This is.
And meanwhile, of course, all the judges or the judge and everybody's looking at him, making good faces, making good weird reaction faces.
The one guy, I think they just had him for like an hour because I feel like every time they cut to him, he's just like. Oh, making that face. Every time they cut to him, he's just like,
and earlier before the prisoner gets there, when they're talking, he's got good skeptical face too. He's like, no, I don't know. So funny. He's doing a lot of face work, and then of course, so the big reveal is that they show him a mirror, and he is the killer.
Yep.
Like they show him the mugshot, he doesn't recognize the guy in the mugshot. They hold up the mirror, it's his face.
And then he freaks out.
And he freaks out. And he's, as you would. What happened to my face? What'd you do? So they explain to him that he is one of multiple personalities.
Yep.
So the idea here being that the motel is this guy's head.
Where they are
all
just
the personalities
trapped forever.
have been forced into conflict. That's some kind of combination drug and behavior therapy they're doing on this prisoner.
Yeah, I think so. I think
to force all these... force a conflict between these different personalities. And the idea, it's like a last man standing kind of. Like
I really think
blood
that
sport of personality. Like basically, they're just hoping that the personality that's left standing is a good one.
Yeah.
And there's no way of knowing.
Well, he pleads with John Cusack to kill every other...
and leave himself as the personality.
He just says that the killer has to die. The killer has to die. And then that's when John Cusack snaps back into the...
He snaps back to the motel. All right, so... They explain everything to Cusack, and he comes to terms with it, like, way faster than you would. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody just showed you, oh, by the way, you're actually just a personality of a bunch of murderers, but, like, you would thought you were a real person, there's no way you would just come to terms with it the way John Cusack does. Yeah. But he's just like, I'm in. I'm the good guy. Because he's been the hero. He's the good guy stereotype. Like we talked about earlier, he's a stereotype, too. Just like the kind of whiny teenage girl and her asshole boyfriend are stereotypes, and the family dynamic. You got the kid, the mom, the dad are stereotypes.
He's got the ex-cop like kind of good guy stereotype.
Ex-cop good guy, but like with a kind of a tragic backstory, so he's a little damaged. So he's a cliche.
Now I didn't think of it like that because I wrote down I wanted to ask you the question during this part. If this was you at that moment when you come back in and that guy says the killer has to die, how would you have played it? I would have just thought maybe, since I'm John Cusack and I know I'm not a killer, right. I would kill everybody that's left. I would just kill everybody that was left and say they're... And also, we've seen an explosion at this point because they try to get some girls away, and the wife and the boy,
I forgot about that.
Son, he dies.
The girlfriend, the bitchy girlfriend, and the little kid, after John McGinley and the mom are both dead, and he's left by himself, John Cusack tries to get them out of there and get them into a car and get them to leave, and the car just blows up. and then the bodies disappear.
Yeah,
like there's no, and not just those bodies, all the murdered bodies and all the blood is just gone.
Yeah.
And that's like right before John Cusack has his freak out, and that's kind of what
sets it off.
Really
That's
sets
what
off
sets
all the
everything
weirdness
off.
because they go around and they're you know.
But what would you have done? I mean, obviously he had to come to terms with it faster though than he did. But would you have just
for the purposes of the movie?
What he did wasn't bad. He just told that girl, "Hey, you just got to stay here. Everything's gonna be okay." And then he went in a standoff, and him and Ray Liotta kill each other.
Oh, that's awesome! He goes out like a total fucking badass.
Both of them do. They just blast. Each other.
But he like literally like walks into gunfire to get close enough to Ray Liotta to make sure his shot's killed. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to take any chances.
And he's already like taking 3 in the chest at this point.
And he just gets close enough to pump a couple.
Yeah.
So yeah, he goes out like a total badass, and then he lets Amanda Peet live, and he just tells her to go on about her dreams, which she had some stupid dream about going to open a grove. It was Orange Grove,
where she could grow trees.
Where she seemed nice. I'm sure you could still prostitute on the side a little bit, though, right?
She wasn't a killer, obviously.
No, she wasn't a killer.
So he picked
She's
the good person.
She's the good personality. She gets to live. It works like the guy he doesn't get pardoned, obviously. He still murdered all those people. But he gets to go to a facility probably and live out his life instead of getting the death penalty. The prisoner.
They saw how crazy, and then he was just that girl, and they're like, okay.
They're like, oh, yeah.
Stay of execution. So they didn't say he's done forever, but he's not getting chair tomorrow. So,
I would imagine he probably would just go to like a maximum security criminally insane facility, and that's probably where they were sending him. So you get to see like while he's going off to wherever, he's in the back of a cop car, simultaneously she's driving through her grove, and and it's like him in the back seat all singing, and she's singing, and then she goes, and then super twist, extra twist.
The kid was never dead.
The little kid who we thought blew up in an explosion has been the killer the whole time. And they go through like a series of showing you how he killed anybody. And I think this might have been part of the extended cut too.
All the stuff they showed. Not
the stuff they showed. Like I think in the regular cut they just show the kid doing the murders, and I think in this cut they intercut Pruitt Taylor Vince.
Yeah, which was awesome.
Who is the guy that John Cusack sees in the mirror? The guy who plays the killer is just a big, bald character actor guy who I think we're going to be talking about later.
Yeah.
They kind of intercut him with the little kid, because I thought that too. I was like, little kid couldn't shut a baseball bat down a grown man's throat, like down to like so deep to kill him.
I thought that too.
But then they kind of intercut Pruitt Taylor Vince to it, and it's because it's in his mind. He can kind of make anything happen, right?
I like that, and I also thought they were kind of also cutting maybe some of his real life murders too. I don't know if that was part of it too.
I did see a little bit of that because I thought I saw some bodies I just didn't recognize.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool that they're showing him when they show this kid.
Like maybe some of
the killer,
like some of the kid doing his real life murders. That was always the personality that was the killer, was the little kid.
Yep. And then he simultaneously, the boy finishes her off.
And it kills her.
Now free.
Also, takes a second to call her a whore. So
yeah,
that's another connection. Like, so you had two characters in this guy's head, because he has 10 personalities basically, right?
Yeah.
You have 2 of them are in his own personality prisoners, so they're bad.
Those guys are bad. I was thinking that too. Those guys are bad.
Plus the kid who actually turns out to be the killer, so that's 3. Then you've got the shady motel owner who takes over the motel of a dead guy,
morally
and hates
bankrupt,
prostitutes, definitely morally bankrupt, and also shares that prostitute hating quality with the little kid. The 2 of them have that in common.
It's really great how they kind of blend them.
So I think about the treatment. And I'm like, you were going to have this battle royale where one personality, but 4 out of 10 of your personalities are likely murderers. And John Cusack, as like a cop with PTSD, I'm not saying anything against people who have PTSD, but he's clearly, maybe not stable. So that's a risky gambit too, to leave in charge. Like, so
maybe Ray Liotta was more of a money-making criminal. He wasn't so crazy like Jake Busey was. That's why you let Jake Busey get dead.
It wasn't about
he was more about survival. I always felt like
he's
his
Henry Hill
urgency
from
was
Goodfellas. And he actually is escaping destiny.
I really think he was just trying to escape his own destiny of death. So he thought, well, if I come out on top, I know I didn't kill those people. I'm not a crazy murderer, but.
And what about like The driver that Ray Liotta kills, is that another personality? Did he have like a cop personality in there too? That was like one of the first ones that got axed off, you know?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, or the manager of the motel, was that
the one that died, right?
Like
exactly.
The first personalities.
The first personalities die in like these really benign, kind of boring ways.
I just had a heart attack.
They don't even get speaking lines. Those poor personalities. Jeez. So
perfect.
So let's talk about, what did you like? How did it? You said you thought you would remember the twist. Did that happen? Did
Yes.
you kind of know like all the twists, or did any of the twists get you?
I think the twist where you find out Ray Liotta's a bad guy. I'd forgotten that until right when it happened. I was like, oh yeah, you know, like how it comes back to you. But I was right about the boy, and of course I knew about the multiple personalities. You remember the thing with
the little kid?
I remember the multiple personalities first, and then I forgot that the boy was a twist, and as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, that's the killer.
Yeah.
But
well, when they do his montage, I like that they show how he sets up the accident with his mom and with John C. McGinley too. The way he's doing this little thing where he like puts his hand up against the window when they're out changing the tire, and then he pulls back so the mom steps back and she like steps into traffic.
Yep, absolutely.
So it's like, you know, when you go back, when I watched it this time, because I remembered it too, and I was like watching for that when it happened.
And there were also a couple more scenes, and I swear this one was for half a second, but there's a second in the very beginning, before I think even the husband of the annoying lady dies.
Yeah.
There's a moment where it's dark, and he's sitting in the dark by himself, and you just kind of see him reaching and pulling something out of a bowl, and then it just cuts away like instantly, and I'm like, what's that kid grabbing? Then when the mom dies, he walks out and goes in the mom's room, and then comes back out,
I was
and
wondering
she's dead. Like, no one saw that?
I was wondering if that was like, I didn't think it was very subtle.
They even
because I
mentioned him.
knew he like gets up and the one girl makes a point to be like, hey, stay with us, and so like draws attention to it. I could see if he just got up and kind of walked in there, you'd be like, oh, he's just checking on his mom because she got hit by a car. But they drew attention to it, and then he comes back, and then like 5 minutes later she's dead.
In that moment though, as any of these personalities, I would have been like, hey, did anybody else notice the fucking kid went in there right before the mom died? Because I saw that. Remember I said keep him in here, and you said no, it's fine. Now she's dead.
Right, I see Damien go in and check on his mom there a couple minutes ago.
Do you hear that fucking music playing all the time?
Oh, where did that Rottweiler come from? What is that? That is ridiculous.
No shit, man. Who the fuck ran out in front of a truck that crashed into his dad? That fucking kid did.
Were there any good surprises that got you?
Nothing really. Maybe some of the deaths where people were. I liked the way the husband died, where he's first angry trying to get in the door, and then he slowly does it. But
has the panic, yeah.
But I liked looking for the stuff for the kid, and I saw a couple things that I thought it was neat. But I thought overall I really liked it, even knowing the twist. So.
I will hit on a couple things I really liked. I thought it was kind of lazy they had a second car hit death. We talked about how great the mom's is. John C. McGinley's good too because you don't see it coming because like a couple deaths happen right in succession. But I was kind of like, oh, another car hit. But then when they go to look for his key and they pull the car away and his body just like ragdolls that, it's like the dude is clearly shattered into pieces and like his clothes are all that's holding him together there. So I was like, okay, that's pretty good.
That was a two-part car hit, like 15 minutes. With the parts broken up like 15 minutes.
They come back to it and they like pay it off a little bit more. I was like, all right, okay.
That was
I'll give
definitely
you that one. And I like the Jake Busey death with the bat, even though it's a little unrealistic that a kid could do it, but it didn't
Anybody
matter.
could do that. That would be horrible.
They put a bat down his throat, fat end first, and he's all straight up.
There's no way.
Yeah, okay. But I like it. I like that.
I know, it was great.
I like a good creative death. I think we talked about that. We've talked about that before. Some things I didn't like. I talked about the couple, and I think I mentioned earlier the "what are you waiting for" moment. I can't, she had the full-on, like, arms out in the rain, like, wow, what are you... So that was screaming. A little much.
That part was, and that was just another moment of me not liking Amanda Peet's character. Yeah. That was really my main dislike, was the women, I would say, of everything. That
and the post-memento editing that led to that 3 flashback, but then, like, it would have been one thing if you tried to make your movie in a memento-y type of way and tell a non-linear story, but that's the only time you did it until the end when you showed us Ray Liotta, and then that was it. But aside from that, no, I really enjoy it. I think the one big complaint I would have is that, like, I feel like it's a little overwritten. I feel like few too many characters, a little too much story for all the characters.
Yeah.
So like if you could have sliced out the young couple altogether and not had them, and that would have kind of like given room for some of the other characters to breathe. They're basically just there to be bodies, kind of.
Yeah.
And you don't even see her body; she blows up and then the bodies disappear. So like she doesn't even count for that.
Yeah, she doesn't even get a death.
I think she's just there to confuse you because she takes the kid with her, so she's there to make you think, like, kind of forget about him,
and to add some bodies at the beginning that don't matter, that you can show that there's a murderer while still having the main people not be in danger yet. So you get to see.
I would say that might be my only complaint, is that I feel like it's a little overcrowded, maybe a little overwritten in that respect. But I do think you got a lot of amazing character actors giving a lot of great performances. Real quick, let's run down
through
the
them
characters.
all.
We're gonna do character corner. We're gonna go cast corner today.
Okay, I like
everyone. So we got the starlet was Rebecca De Mornay.
Yeah, great.
She was really good.
Real bitchy.
Real bitchy.
That was great.
We talked about Alfred Molina as the doctor.
Very small part, but he's great at it.
Right. Clea Duvall. Hated her character, but you know what? Sometimes I think about this, especially with like villains in movies. A character that can make you feel a strong feeling, even if it's dislike.
Absolutely.
That's still an actor doing their job.
Still great. And
Clea Duvall's a good actress, and she did her work in this one. Even though her character was not well written, she acted it as best she could.
Did a good job. Run around and scream like incoherently. She did amazing at it. It was great.
Absolutely. We talked about John Hawkes from Eastbound and Down as the prostitute hating Weasley.
So good.
This is actually like the first thing I ever saw him in. Too.
Okay.
This was like kind of my first introduction to him, and then everything else I saw him in, to me, he was like the guy from Identity forever. So I really like him, and obviously John C. McGinley.
Oh, great.
And playing against type in this, playing kind of a twitchy nerd. You know, a lot of people are used to seeing him as Perry Cox on Scrubs. Also, the hard-ass lieutenant of the FBI. He's Keanu Reeves and Gary Busey's boss in Point Break. So he worked with both Buseys. Yeah. Good for him. That's a career milestone for anybody, I think.
The torch, so to speak, to
the
youngest Busey.
And then I think you liked who was it? Who's your favorite?
Pruitt Taylor Vince, man. Yeah, I was gonna say John C. McGinley because he kind of does the shift. He does the calculating when they stop the car. He does it, but then Pruitt comes in and he just is so much better at doing the same thing. Like where his eyes are constantly going sideways. He literally does
a thing where his eyes kind of constantly shudder, and it's very so good. Creepy. And there's some good moments when because like. They have the moment where Amanda Peet is talking to John Cusack as he dies in the rain. She's holding him. Then they cut to the room with the doctor and all the lawyers, and Pruitt Taylor Vince is doing it, but he's doing both sides by himself
while doing the thing of his eyes,
and still doing the eye twitch and doing it pretty damn well and pretty convincing and making you feel emotion for him as well. And like he's like really conveying what's happening to the point where these like rational lawmen who are like multiple personalities are like yes. I'm convinced. The good personality. And just think how crazy, think how you're talking about lawmen, you know what I mean? Judges, rational thinkers. Like, how, for them to be like, yep, the good personality won. Go ahead and let this guy go.
I remember thinking that as it was happening. I just remember thinking, I don't think that's a real thing where if you murder the personality that committed the murders, you get to just get out of prison.
Well, yeah, and even just get a commuted sentence. Like, well, that's nice. I hope you find peace. Now on to the electric chair with you.
Yeah, I don't think that's a real thing.
No. I think maybe that falls apart a little bit there.
That's funny. I thought the same thing, but you're right, and everybody was good. I don't know if there's anybody left off the list.
I was gonna pick the deepest cut for me, an actor by the name of Holmes Osborne. You might have to put this guy's picture up for people to know.
I'll throw it up for you
because he's a really great, and I think the mark of a great character actor is somebody who does not draw attention to themselves, but is just always good. This guy's great at playing like a blustery Southerner, which is he was the judge, he plays he's the dad in Donnie Darko.
Yeah, he's good.
He also plays a dad in one of my favorite dark comedies, Election, Matthew Broderick. he's just a really good guy. And since the cast was so, like, everybody on this cast was worth talking about, I wanted to, like, pull even farther and find another one who might not get called out.
And he's great.
Good too. And he doesn't have a ton of lines. He does what we talked about earlier. He has his blustery Southern, you're gonna have to, I'm not one to, multiple personalities, but then he does great reacting too.
Yeah.
He's responsible for, like, conveying a lot of, like, amazement at what's going on with John Cusack when John Cusack's, like, realizing he's so he has to sell that moment, and he does it great. So I'm gonna give that guy a shout out too.
I like. You're absolutely right when he shuts down the lawyers and all the way through. He's a great one. But it's just a great cast. But I want to know what this is why we're here, Brian. What do you think about this purchase?
Goodbye or goodbye? Well, I mean, I don't think we've had that much negative to say about it, and I think some of the negative things that people say about it, we've kind of debunked. We kind of, like, talked about why that's not necessarily a problem. Like, there's a way to enjoy this movie and take that into consideration, and it still kind of holds up, I think.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. I'm a guy who I famously only watch movies one time because then I just think I saw it, I don't need to see it again. And movies like these especially, and I watching it again today, thought it was so much fun, even knowing what had happened. And I was like, this is a great time.
A good twist is when you can go back and still get something out of it, and I think this one does that. And also, speaking of good buys, thrifty buy. This was a previously viewed from Blockbuster. Still got the Blockbuster case on it, but it was from Blockbuster, so I probably still overpaid it, to be quite honest with you, because
that's true.
This was the height of the DVD craze, and they knew what they had. They got me.
With inflation and the increasing value of the dollar, you think about the hour and a half of good times we got tonight.
That we got out of it, and all the times I watch it, like, closer to around the time it came out, like we talked about. So that's what I was thinking about when I buy movies too. It's like, well, how many times do I have to watch them to make it worth it? Sometimes when you get burned, here's what always hurts me. I buy something, and maybe I bought it new because I really liked it.
Thought it was good,
and it was. And I loved it, and I watched it like once or twice. But then, like, really soon, within like a month, you see it on sale for like $10, and you're like, "Come on! I could have got a brand new for that." It's just because it's not that I didn't. It's not that it's like I don't like the movie anymore, but it's like, did I get the worth? Did I get that many watches out of it when I could have saved the money? It's so hard when you're super cheap like me. And you want to spend your money on a ridiculous hobby that is not going to pay off in any way.
One day, there could be like old vinyls and stuff like that, so people will be like, "Oh, you got the old Indiana Jones release."
Well, I figure, this will be my like stock if the apocalypse ever happens. That's why I keep them here in the bunker, because everybody got their movies on digital. Well, I'm pretty sure if Dawn of the Planet of the Apes taught us anything, that, we're not going to have our great technologies. We're not going to have our cell phones, our tablets. We're not going to have our iPads. And even if we do get them charged on our diesel generator, we're not going to have enough time to watch The Force Awakens on Google Play. I don't think Google Play is still going to exist.
To be clear, though, to the viewers at home, there's no food, there's no water.
Well, I'm gonna bargain for the food with the DVDs. I think that's pretty solid.
Say, you're not gonna be able to watch a very video before you ultimately die. You're gonna have to pick some.
Never mind that just because that you need electricity to run DVD players and televisions. Don't worry about that. I'm talking about but you don't need. You don't need Wi-Fi. You don't need your wireless modem to work.
I'm getting scared now when you start saying these things. No Wi-Fi. I can't handle that.
I'm just saying that I have, someday when the cloud goes down and nobody has a physical copy of Nothing But Trouble, I'll be there. I'll be there. All right.
I'll be here too. Holding it down with you for sure.
So I think that's it, right?
Yeah, let us know if we missed anything.
Tell me if do we just have bad taste? Is that what it is?
And if you're a hater of this movie, I want to know why you hate it, because I want to know what you hate. Because if you just want to say stereotypical characters, I'm taking it off the table now, because we've
debunked that.
Yeah, we've alady debunked that. So you're gonna have to come better than that.
You have to do a little bit better.
So absolutely.
Yeah. So, but thanks for joining us here on the DVD Bunker.
Check us out on Twitter. Hashtag at the Drunksman.
At the Drunksman, at Hercules.
Yeah. Hashtag DVD Bunker. here. Check out all the other.
Like this video.
Yeah, like it.
Subscribe to the Unofficial Fan Fights channel.
Yep.
Watch Fan Friction. Call into Odd Shape Panel if you can get in. Like, I was trying to get in the other week. I was sitting there in the holding pattern. Those guys are popular, man. They're making us look bad. Could some of the people who watch that show watch this? Just tell your friends, maybe? Maybe we need a call-in segment to get this thing rolling. I don't know.
I'm just going to pretend call in myself.
I'll bring on a guest. You call from the other side of the room.
That's absolutely right.
I think that sounds pretty good. Thanks to Ron and Google
always
Platypi
thanks to Ron
for our
the
music.
Loving it.
Yeah, that music's great. And I think that's it.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.